What's up, dude? How you doing?
Are you getting an echo or is it just me?
I'm no echo. Do you have my stream still on?
Oh yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah.
See, I'm not very smart today. I'm short on sleep, so.
Yeah. So am I, dude. I yeah. I feel like I'm running off of like 2 hours right now.
Okay. So how do we do this? Should I just play the stream but mute it? Yeah, that would probably make sense, right? Or no? Or how do I do it?
So all we're gonna do is you can now that you can hear me in the Discord call, we'll just do the Discord call itself. You don't have to use the stream at all anymore. You could literally pause it and just turn it off. Um, and then what we'll do instead is if you have replays, you could just send me over your like you already did actually. I see it in Discord. I could just watch your replay on Discord, and I could share my screen to you from Discord so you can see. I'm trying to fight off a sneeze right now. Oh my god, you can
Okay,
see
now
where.
that makes sense.
Yeah, you'll see my version. Excuse me. Good God, so allergies are so crazy right now. You'll see what I see in StarCraft essentially.
Okay, cool.
All right. Bless you. Thank you. Oh my god, dude, it's my allergies are going nuts right now. My eyes are so itchy. My nose is running. It's not. It's not great.
Yeah, bless you, my bad.
Oh, thanks, dude. What? You're so nice. Oh my god, I feel blessed. Thanks, dude. All right. So I'm gonna share the screen to you in like 2 seconds on Discord. It's very easy peasy. Just like click it, and it should be like watch or whatever. Starting right now, there should be like a watch button on it, or you can just like click into it. Before I get going, I'll just make sure you're good to go.
Yeah, my bad. Okay, I see it now.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you can see things like my mouse and stuff like that clicking around. I would right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're good to go. So now, okay. So this is Gold League. What specifically? Where are you kind of sitting at? Are you like upper gold, lower gold?
Well, actually, technically, so it was Gold League, but technically this one's silver because my MMR, it still shows gold, but my MMR went down because I took a few weeks off, and then I started playing again. So it's more like high silver now, like silver 3. I'm trying to work my way back up into gold and then hopefully get up to platinum, and onward to GM. My goal is GM eventually.
Okay. No, it's cool. It's very valiant goal right there. That's a goal that's going to be definitely a hard one to overcome, but it's doable at the same time. I think anybody could get GM with enough time and dedication to the game.
Or even just masters, I'd be happy with, to be honest, because
Yeah.
it's like close enough, you know.
Yeah, no, it's super close. Like honestly, most Masters players can at least take a game off of a GM player. So, yeah, that'd be sick, dude. Let's help you get there. Let's figure out some stuff to make you a little bit stronger of a player.
Oh, and I'm doing your B2GM. I think it's the 2021, but I'm not positive. It could be 2020, but I think it was 2021.
Is it bio or mech?
It's like mostly bio, I think,
Okay.
like Marine, Marauder.
So
Yeah, it's all like barracks.
Yeah,
Instead of,
that'll be the 2021 version. I didn't do mech. All right, sorry, I did mech last time.
Yeah, 2019. I saw the intro to that.
Okay, so let's talk about it, and then I'll preface really quick just to make sure you're feeling comfortable here, and no worries about this if it happens. I encourage it. If at any point in time I'm mid sentence and I'm trying to explain something, and you're like, oh, I just had like this like light bulb that popped in my head, and you really wanted to like figure something out, definitely do not hesitate to like interrupt me, ask me a question, whatever you got to do. I do not mind at all. I actually want you to get the most out of this for yourself. So always ask me any question that you can at any point in time, no matter how obvious it might seem. Don't be embarrassed at all. Everybody has questions like what you would probably ask. So yeah, just be easy. Be at ease. Don't worry about it. I'm super chill to talk to. I'm not gonna get offended or like annoyed if you interrupt me or anything like that. Even if it happens like 50 times, I don't care. I want you to do that.
All right, for sure.
Yeah.
I got my notepad up.
Yeah, but I just because there are a lot of times that because I'm gonna explain stuff constantly, and then you might want to ask me like clarification, and I might not realize you want that. So I really want you to. I want to make sure you know what's going on. Anyways, I'll go ahead and start this bad boy up. And just generally speaking, how it usually goes to is what we're going to probably be talking about a lot is going to be obviously your macro. Macro is something that holds a lot of people back up until around Diamond. Because it's something that will never go away. It's just something you add on top of later on, and it's something you want to become very automated for yourself. So we'll just see what's going on for you. We'll get an idea here. So first things first, I'm gonna go back because I feel like I missed a few seconds here. SCV starts right at 0 seconds. That was beautiful. And then you have not missed one since then. So so like in the very least the first minute of the game, you're crushing already. There are a lot of people out there that honestly are way more unorganized around this point in time. I would say something very small. Okay, this is super small, not a huge deal, but it's something that you can definitely fix for yourself in the future. And what this is when you have an SCV that's going to build a gas, if you just build a gas with minerals in your hand, you're going to waste the minerals. So what you could do is you could either grab an SCV that has no minerals in its hands, or if you do this right here, here's a cool trick. If you ever happen to grab an SCV that happens to have minerals in its hands when you want to build a gas, right? Here, I think it was, or no, it's like the next one. Okay, right there. So if this happens to you, a really easy thing you can do is if you grab him early and you're like, I want to build my gas now, just while the SCV is move commanding, just hit C for return cargo, and then as soon as the cargo has been returned, then just build the gas. You can then move him to the, like you can hit C, shift, right click the gas mine, and then build on it, and that'd be totally fine. That would just, again, save your money. Because like the thing is if you look at it for a second here, you were sitting there anyways for a moment to build it. Like it was like 1 second, not a huge deal. But going to command center and going back to the gas wouldn't have been a huge deal either. Again, this is not a huge deal, so I'm not going to harp on it for much longer. It's just returning cargo, not wasting your minerals is definitely something you're going to want to do over time, because it will just kind of waste your resources if you do this with a lot of things all the time. Not a huge deal though. It's only 5 minerals.
Actually, all these little things are kind of what I'm looking for, because these games that I chose were like what I felt were like stronger.
Sure. No, that's why I told you as well.
But I still lost on both these games, so I'm like, okay, so I macroed pretty decently, but why did I lose? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like the little things that add up.
For sure. I mean, that's also why. A lot of people would look at it and be like, that's not a big deal, vibe, but it obviously, what you just said is very true. Little things do add up if you make a lot of little mistakes. So another thing, or no, you're good. Just joking. So far, you're fine. The only, yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I think you're gonna do in B2GM. I'm pretty sure I was doing barracks, SCV scouts. So the SCV that built the barracks is the guy who scouts, and that's exactly what's happening. So you're all good to go on that. You instantly made your orbital, which is super nice. That orbital, I'm very glad you made it before you made the command center at the natural. That's like priority number 1 right there. Okay. And then this would be, I would say, okay, this is something I can now tell you. That's something I can help you in the future. There are priorities of what you should be doing, okay? Sorry. So priority number 1 is always be producing. Okay, that's ABP. Always be producing. I made that up right now. But no, it's very true though. Always be building stuff out of your buildings. But now there's a sequence of what's more important than something else, and what is more important than other things for the early part of the game is you want to make sure you always prioritize an SCV over something out of your barracks. You'll eventually get to a point where you don't have to make SCVs anymore when you're done, when you're actually at like 85 or whatever. But like right there, you had a choice to make either an SCV or a Marine. 100% you should have made an SCV instead, because the thing that sucks for you is this main command center needs to make probably like 35 of your total SCV count, or something like that, like 40. You're gonna like probably go up to about 40 SCVs off of your main if you also include like the first 12 you start with. Like it's gonna make a large chunk of your entire SCV count essentially, because it's up the entire game. So every single time you delay your SCVs at all for anything, it just makes all of the SCVs that are after now number 19 delayed, and you always, like, all of them coming after the next one are going to be delayed again. So it's a little bit brutal on your economy if you do that too many times. So always make sure priority of production always is worker first, then unit second. And for bio, it's going to be, honestly, I would say command center first, barracks second, and then starport third.
Complete.
And then you only use factory for like 2 tanks or 4 tanks, so or a couple tanks. So that's also fine. You can mix that in whenever you can, but priority for sure is command center. All right. And then I would say that one right there too. Your factory was a tiny bit late. So, like right here, for instance, this is a moment where I think you're probably looking at your scout. Yeah, you are. So let's talk about your scout for a second, okay? Let's do a little bit of a scout breakdown about what to look for and what it means and how to make it easy to read. Save you time essentially. So when you get to your opponent's base, this is a humongous thing to look at. And what it is building time of natural. Now, if you look at his natural is further along than your natural. And your natural was made off of the back of a barracks and a gas and a depot. And you even started it before the orbital. So, like, it's not delayed at all. Like, your natural is very, very, very on time. It's normal for a safe expansion. However, your opponent has a natural that's even faster than yours. So, if you think about it, if you're like, okay, well, why is his natural faster than mine? I don't, like, what's going on here? I would say there's a higher chance that the Protoss either took a little bit of a later gateway or he took a later gas. But if you really look at the nexus to the command center timing, it's not that much of a difference. Like, we're talking like a 10-second difference or so, because the nexus is at 28 and the command center is at 14. So it's really a 14-second difference. If it's that close together, it's probably not a bear. He probably still built it after the gateway, because if he built it before the gateway, this nexus would probably be honestly at like 60 seconds of the way done right now. It's something much further along. So he might have taken a later gas than you. Like, so he might have just optimized his minerals a little bit longer. You can already tell that from the scout, because and this is something that you'll learn over time, because you'll start to learn what feels right for someone's opener of what they have. But that's just a nexus so far, right? Now, as you go into his base, what do you see? You see 2 gases. But now here's, like, again, you don't have to do this, but you could do this. You could even click his gas and go, okay, what are you at? He's sitting at 2122 and you're sitting at 2094. So that confirms it right there. This dude has mined about 30 less gas than you have. So if he mines less gas than you and workers mine the same gas pacing, like, no, the SCVs and probes don't mine slower than each other, but he has less gas than you, total mined. It just means he prioritizes mineral line more than you did, so it means that's why he's got a faster nexus. So it's like a confirmation. And now you can see there's his gateway. You can be confirmed where that is on the side of the cliff there. And you also see the core. The core is also finishing. And here's an interesting thing too, right? The core is finishing almost around the same time as your orbital command. So all these details tell you what the build was already. Like again, the thing you want to look for is not what he has. This is probably the biggest piece of scouting information that is hard for people to assimilate for themselves, but it makes so much sense once you can do it. It's not about finding out what he has. It's about finding out the order of which he took it. That's what scouting really is, and the way you do that is you compare his build to your build. And you can then tell what, like, if you have an indication as to what kind of a build your opponent wants to aim for, you can kind of read what kind of a playstyle your opponent's going to use. So if I were to be looking at this already, I would already be saying, yeah, this player already looks like a safety greed player. Like it's like a safe version. It's like a safe opener essentially. Just the best way to describe it's safe. It's also exactly what you're doing. There's minor deviations where he has more minerals than you do, which might mean that this guy is more inclined to go for something more mineral heavy. He might, like, this guy's not the kind of player you're going to look at and go, oh, he's going to go for a really quick Stargate. He's going to go for a really quick Dark Templar. This guy's more likely probably the kind of person that's going to go for something much more standard. Like, he's going to go for a faster third base, or he's going to go for like a lot more gates and do something with gateways. Something more mineral heavy is what it would seem like so far. It's just like it's like he's basically showing his hand a little bit about what his plans are essentially. But again, the biggest thing is you just want to compare without just getting too technical and too crazy. It's just confirming, was gateway on time with my barracks? Was pylon, or is his pylon not proxied? And also, is like his nexus on time with my command center? Are these things lining up, or are there some big discrepancies there? And they're definitely lining up this game. So now this scout, just gave you the idea that this game is going to be a standard game. It's going to be a quote unquote macro game essentially. And as long as you can read a game like that, you don't need to freak out and make all these crazy choices. And then that's just like, you know, that's good for you essentially. Now, I would say a cool trick you can do. Here's a cool trick you can do, okay, in the future. Definitely, I think you already did, but definitely hotkey your scouting SCV, which is on group 2, it seems like, which is totally fine. And have a second hotkey, either it be a camera hotkey or a second hotkey for a second unit, so you can double tap your hotkey. So what I would mean is, this, to run you through it, this is kind of what it would be like. Okay, this is what it would be like. Also, sorry, I'm struggling to live here. My fucking allergies are terrible. But this is what it would be like, right? So you're running into his base. You're scouting. You can hit like 2-2, and you're at your SCV, scouting his base. Because if you double tap 2 with a quick 2-2, it bounces the camera right to the SCV. And then you're in his base, and now your production's rolling. You got Marine SCV on the way, Depot on the way. It's all looking great. And now you can go back to either hitting your camera hotkey, because I did show people camera hotkeys in Gold League. Or if you don't have that, you can go back to like double tapping 4 or double tapping 5. Or you could even hotkey the SCV that's going to build your factory and make that maybe SCV in control group 2, or control group 1, because you already have an SCV in control group 2. It doesn't have to stay in control group 1 permanently either. It's just for building the factory. And then when you're let's say again, just assume you're scouting his base right now, but you're also watching your resources in top right, and you go, all right, how much does a factory cost? And if you don't know that, something you should commit to memory. And what that could be for you is, you know, might take you a little bit of time to memorize these numbers, but a factory is 150 minerals and 100 gas. So when you see you're getting really close to it, like right about now, you could just double tap something that takes you back to your main. And again, if you really did, like, let's say you did SCV on control 1 again for building the factory just for that moment in time, double tap 1 takes you right back to the SCV. You immediately start your factory when you see you have enough money for it. And as soon as you start the factory, double tap 2 again to go back to the scouter. Because what you're
so that I put my you're saying I put my main builder SCV, like the one that's going to make my factory and my starport and such and so forth, just put them on a different control group basically.
Yeah, you could just for the opener of the game. That's totally fine. You could also use camera hotkeys too.
Well, so the camera. Oh yeah, just put a camera hotkey on that location.
Well, you could even do it off the main, because think about it like this: if you did it off the main, you could just drag your camera down a smidge, and then you're already right there to see your SCV anyways.
That's another thing. I guess the only thing that's going to solve this is repetition or practice. But I set the camera hotkeys to my first and my natural.
You should.
Out of habit, but I use them sometimes. But I forget a lot of times.
That's okay. Yeah, no, it's something you'll definitely learn with experience. I'm definitely not expecting you to be an expert with it yet. It's just the biggest rule you got to remember. Okay. The biggest rule you got to remember is, and you broke it pretty hard right here in a second, which we'll see. You have to remember that your macro is the #1 most important thing. And the #1 most important thing out of all of that is obviously making SCVs for you and like maintaining production. But it's also not missing timers, like for instance, your factory. Because if we, like looking at this right here, your factory could go down right now at 2 minutes and 11 seconds. And your factory does go down much later at 2 minutes and 31 seconds, essentially. So that was 20 seconds late in the factory. And that's like half the build time of the factory, pretty much. And this is the kind of shit that, like, the reason why I'm stressing it so hard right now, and like really making sure this is like your focus, is because this could actually be the answer for you in the future. Let's say you came back to me in like your Platinum League, and you're like, Vibe, okay, how the hell do I deal with Protoss? I don't know how to deal with this build. What's going on? And you die to like a timing. And this could be why, like, what makes the difference of if you do or don't die, because 20 seconds late on like a tank is going to very highly make a big difference in how good or bad your defense is going to be versus people who all in you or are just opening aggressively. So you got to make sure you definitely don't miss those timers like that, because that's a humongous missed opportunity right there for you. And it could be like I said before, it could be something as simple as double tapping 1 or something, factory, double tapping 2, you're scouting again. And with the scout, again, all you got to know is the build order, and then you're good to go. Because let me explain it like this, in case it doesn't make sense or part of it doesn't make sense. Double gas for a Protoss is something that it could be very, very tech heavy, okay? If I were to tell you, if I were to be talking to you, like let's just use poker for an example here. Let's say someone says, "Oh, I got pocket aces, and I had 4 of a kind on the flop." I feel like most people that play poker would be like, "I know what that means. Like that makes sense to me." I like, and if you don't, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just I'm just trying to give an analogy here. But now the comparison to StarCraft 2 would be the Protoss opened up double gas. Let's say I said to you the Protoss opened up double gas. What that would mean is that the Protoss had double gas before they expanded, okay? We're talking about initial investment. So what we're seeing right now is not double gas because, again, it's not about what he has. It's about the order of which he took it. And your scout sees right now, okay, his first gas is later than my gas, which was my first gas, and I didn't even go gas before, like, depot or something. I didn't rush my gas. I did it after barracks. So that means he did it also after gateway, but it was really after gateway. Like, delayed for like 10 seconds after yours was. And then his second gas is starting now, but this is after he already made a core, a pylon, a second pylon, a nexus, a a gateway. Sorry. Oh my god, today is rough, dude, with the allergies. It's because I went outside and I'm a bubble boy. But yeah, it's the order, again, the order, it tells everything. So now if this is a single gas opener Protoss who did all of his stuff, he already invested into all of his things, specifically the Nexus. The fact that he's going for a second gas now just means that, again, it's a standard build and he's going to take it anyways, just like you're about to take yours. Because you should be taking your second gas when you take the factory, essentially, more or less. I think it's actually when the factory is done. With the build that I showed you in B2GM, but you get the point. It's like, it's just so we can make the build keep flowing and running. So things like that that you have to be able to read things like that. So the biggest, again, the 3 easy ways to read Protoss are no gas, 1 gas, or 2 gas. No gas or 1 gas pairs a lot with a Nexus, and 2 gas pairs a lot with no Nexus, but instead like potentially proxy tech or just tech in general. And so that's how you can, like, double gas is definitely aggressive. 1 gas or no gas is definitely either really greedy or safe, like standard expansion timings and things like that. The only exception to that rule for Protoss specifically is if they cannon rush you, because it doesn't cost gas to cannon rush. But then you'd already be seeing that really early in the game, like 1 minute in the game, you would be getting cannon rushed. And then once you can the last thing I'll say about the scout is the reason why it's important to know these things is because once you've confirmed it, you don't need to stay in his base, which you're not, which I like. But, like, for instance, it would be like this, okay? So you look at your resources specifically right now. I want you to, even though I'm watching your SCV, I want you to look at your resources. So right now, you already have a good idea what he's doing. From already what you've seen. It's already a good idea about what's happening here. And now, right now, it is guaranteed what's happening to you. It's very, very, very high chance of what is going on. So there's other things we could talk about as well that are more advanced and things like that, which I don't really think you need to hear right now. It's definitely not something that's relevant to Gold League. It's just going to make it sound really complicated. But I want you to know that even if this guy did proxy you, the fact that he expanded would make that proxy really, really, really weak. Because you cannot expand and then expect to have like a strong proxy. It's just... It's a lot harder to make work, essentially. Especially if you're just pumping units yourself, defensively. So already right now, you could literally just go back to... Like, you could have your SCV quickly be like, click here, shift, click there, shift, click there, shift, click there. Like, just click around the screen really fast in a circle, and then shift, click your mineral line or something like that. That way you could just try and spot if there's a gateway in his base somewhere. And that'd be totally fine. But otherwise, even if you didn't scout where the gateway was, I would honestly be like, you're probably pretty fine. It's not that huge of a deal. Because you're opening up with defensive tanks anyways. That's the whole concept. So that's the big thing to keep in mind that you don't want to mess up on. Instead of, you know, looking at his base longer and then delaying that by 20 seconds. Okay, now you have your factory, second barracks. Timings are nice. Or actually, hold on. I I actually don't like what you just did here. I think what you just did here is you shift commanded a barracks after your factory's done. And you did it when the factory was like halfway done. So all this is doing is it's tying up your resources pretty hard here in your bank, essentially. And you don't want to do this because here's an example of why not. You can see you're ready to build Marines, right? But you can't even afford 2 Marines right now because you've tied this cost up. So definitely make sure, like later on in the game, I would say this is a lot less impactful once you have a lot more money kind of getting thrown around. But for the early part of the game, make sure your make sure your expenses are maintained a little bit better. Like this was a queued up 150 cost for like 20 seconds. I just was waiting. I would say if you can queue up like 2 SCVs per CC, and then just try to keep rolling production on your commands or on your barracks as well and stuff like that. And then try to just time your buildings where you're like, job's done. Okay, do the next one. Way better for you than queuing it like this. This is definitely a little painful for you. It's gonna slow things down.
Yeah, and I'll end up doing the same thing with SCVs. Like I'll end up queuing up like full SCVs sometimes where maybe I don't necessarily need to because I get nervous thinking I'm gonna forget.
So that comes from like 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, that whole concept I was talking about in B2GM, and you want to make sure you're really. This is something that you need to do, not because I'm just saying, oh, you just need to do it, and it's just something that needs to be done, and you have to always actively do this all the time. Even though that is correct, it's not actually why I tell people to go 4-5, 4-5, 4-5. Like you're supposed to be doing it probably like at least once every 5 seconds. But if you get really good at it, you'll be doing it once every like 1 second in the start of the game, or like once every 2 seconds. And
I just need to practice it more.
And the reason why it's so good and why it's supposed to be like this is because it's supposed to be so repetitious that it becomes an automated reflex for you. Like it needs to be you need to stop actually thinking about it, and your hands just do it. It's like literally just like it becomes a sequence of your gameplay that you don't even use your brain for. It's just it's something. It's just, and then like for instance, like a perfect example would be when you were watching the stream a few minutes ago, or like half an hour ago or whatever, when my cousin was here, and he was like, "Your hands are moving really fast on the keyboard." I didn't even fucking think that. I didn't even think about it. It's just happening. Like I'm not actually going, okay, go 4-5, 4-5 while he's talking to me. I'm not thinking 4-5, 4-5, 4-5. My hand is just doing it while I'm having a conversation with him and talking to chat and reading chat. And it's because it's literally automated for me because I've done it so many times. And it helps a lot because it means you can actually play with your subconscious, which means the best reason why it is so good for you as someone who's going to learn StarCraft 2 is because a lot of people, if they don't actually macro with their subconscious because they haven't done it enough to practice it like that enough, they think about their build, and every time something distracts them, they fall apart on their build. They're like, ah, shit. Well, whoops, I forgot to build something like the factory. I forgot to keep building my SCVs. I forgot to build my Marines because a Reaper went in my base, or a Adept or a Stalker attacked my base, or I was my SCV in his base got attacked by a probe, and I looked at it for a while, and I wanted to scout, and I forgot to macro. Like, these things will all slow you down so fucking much if you have to use your brain to think about macro. But what you need to be able to do is you need to be able to macro while thinking about your opponent. So you can look at your opponent's build and be like, what are you doing? And meanwhile, your hand's going 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, 4-5. And you're just hitting buttons while you're thinking about your opponent. Because you don't have to think about your build anymore because it's literally automated.
Oh,
so that's the goal of what you want. And the only way you're going to get that is if you hit it a lot. If you just... You have to actively think about it for a while, and then eventually it becomes automated. It's like dribbling a basketball or something like that. Like, it's something that needs to just become your normal, essentially. And the only way to do it is through massive amounts of repetition and practice for the start. And once you can master that, that's like one of your biggest tickets to Diamond League. All right, and then... Overall, though, I mean, like you have a good idea about what you're doing. I can see the potential. There's your starport. Your first tank is in a correct location. Good job. Your SCVs are being produced.
Add-on complete.
I would say, I'm gonna ask you a question really fast. You can give me a judgment of what you think this would be, but how often would you say in your games you get attacked by an oracle?
I'm not. I have to probably Google what an oracle even looks like, to be honest.
Okay, so like
'Cause
never.
I'm a noob. Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
It's just a big orb that flies around in the air for Protoss, and it has like that beam that kills workers really fast.
Probably not often, because I just looked it up and I see them sometimes, I think, but not too often.
Okay. So the reason why I was explaining that or bringing that up is because your Marines just kind of standing next to the barracks, it's kind of like a missed opportunity, and it's also a bit of a hole in your build that your opponent could potentially exploit. So what I would say you should do is you should move your Marines kind of closer to, like, see where your 2 Marines are near the, or I mean, you can see what I'm seeing. So yeah, you see it. So the 2 Marines near the depot wall, that's fine. I like that position. That's going to help, push away potential aggro on the wall, something like that. But the Marines in the main base, they're not really doing anything in the location that they're standing at. So I would say if you are ever worried about the potential threat of like your opponent going for air, like hitting you with an oracle or something like that really early. Again, this game wouldn't make sense though because he didn't open up double gas. He opened up 1 gas, so even if he did go Stargate, it would be really late. But if you put like Marines either somewhere around like right here in the mineral line, that would be fine. Or if you put Marines kind of over here in this area behind the wall, that would be fine. I don't really like it as much here. Simply because there is like 0 chance that these Marines are going to defend anything if you get attacked by anything when they're standing right here. There's very, very low chance that they're going to be effective. So you're going to have to move them like once you're taking damage, essentially, which is not always the greatest position to be in.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So like rally a few over, yeah, to each location. Yeah, that's probably better because I get into those situations a lot where I have to like run my troops around my base when I get rushed or something.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes. Because it like you still could defend it with where you're standing right now. It's going to create more of a panic situation for you, where you're going to have to deal with stuff as it's happening rather than setting up before it happens. So setting up before it happens is also a cool trick that you can utilize to make your life like 100 times easier to just make it easier to deal with things that could be potentially attacking you and stuff like that. But yeah, so overall, I mean, definitely not bad so far. Some things you can definitely fix though. Second tank. Okay, so you are going up to like the 4 tank situation, which again, that's fine. I don't mind it. It's pretty much what I did as well in B2GM. Super, super, super defensive.
I usually do 3 tanks, but sometimes I add in a 4th, but that's usually if they're really aggressive against me early on, I'll build the 4th.
Uh-huh. That's what you should be doing for sure, I would say.
But most of the time I do 3.
Their command center's on the way. Gotta make sure you don't forget about those depots.
Yeah, I supply block a lot. That's another thing that I screw up on a lot.
So I think one reason why you're probably supply blocking is because your depots are based off of your walls, and that's fine. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. I forget after I build my second wall. A lot of times I'll forget and I'll supply block after that.
So the fact that I will say this, your depot management up until right now was good. Okay, it was actually better than Gold League, and you didn't queue up like 5 at once essentially. And every time this depot was done being built, you quickly got the SCV on the next depot pretty fast after it was done. So that was good. I like your sense of urgency to build your depots. But I would say a way you can kind of like fix this for yourself going in the future would be if you're not ready to build a wall at your 3rd base, and if you're just never going to do it, which is also fine. I'm not saying you have to. You could, but you don't have to. You could either start your depot wall at your 3rd, or you could start making like a potential like depot wall in your main base essentially. But it's like a pretend wall. It's not actually going to be a real wall in your main. But like what I mean is you can start building, like, let's say next to like your gases up here, you can start building a depot and then build 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 a depot and then depot and then depot, like whatever, right? You just like keep the same momentum going that you had early on, and you keep doing depot, because it's only going to get faster as well. Like, for instance, you could get away with going 1 depot after 1 depot after 1 depot up until you have this many depots, which is 7. between your 2 walls you've made, which is great. But once you get to this stage of the game, you're gonna probably start needing to make like not just 1 depot anymore. You're probably gonna start needing to make 2 depots at a time. And the reason why is because your production now is a lot bigger than it was before too. You were doing this all off of 1 barracks and then eventually 1 factory. And now you're doing it off of 2 barracks and 2 barracks and a starport and a factory. So you have just more production rolling in. And you're also still obviously making SCVs the entire time. So your supply is just going to start ramping up a little bit faster and a little bit faster and a little bit faster. So definitely want to make sure you continue that depot production like just in your main, and like the behind, like I would say the best place to do it is like around the back of your mineral line, because you could even wall yourself in, and then as soon as the depot's done, just lower the depot, and then now you're suddenly not walled in anymore, and that's fine. Just squeeze them in wherever you can. But if you put them in the middle of your base, it disrupts your actual placement of like where your barracks want to be and stuff like that. I like your tank placement. Very nice. Yeah, now this, like that right there, that was rough. Because I know why I know why you did that. Like, so you're like, oh, I'm supply blocked. But you definitely want mules. There's this is worth 100 mineral value essentially, and each mule is worth like 250. So that's a massive loss there. That's like 300 minerals lost just now for you, essentially, for when you're doing that. So this is like a last resort, but should not be your first option. But again, since you were blocked, I agree that you did it. It's just you could try to avoid it in the future.
Research complete.
Ready for dust-off.
And if you do want to do a depot wall at your 3rd, do not feel like you can't start it before the 3rd's there. So if you identify what location you want to take your 3rd at, you could totally be like, all right, I'll start making a depot there, or like a depot there, and then I'll make another depot there, and then like by the time your command center lands, you'll probably have the depots starting. But I highly doubt you'll have like 8 depots in a line, and then you're finally gonna land your 3rd, because like you could see right now, all you needed was 2 depots on top of the 7, so you're at 9 depots right now. And if those 2 depots were not double stacked, but instead there were 2 depots there and there, that wouldn't even be close to the command center yet, right? And your command center is already in orbital pretty much, so it's about to land. So you have plenty of time to get your 3rd at your 3rd, and every base of a 3rd base is always going to be like this. It's not like 2 depots are going to connect you to the wall ever. It's usually going to be like 7 depots again are going to connect you to the wall from the command center. So you have plenty of time is what I'm trying to make the point of here. If you want to do the 3rd wall depot thing.
Do you? I mean, is it better one way or the other? Should I? I mean, I'm willing to do the 3rd wall, but
this is what I would say. Really good against Zerg, not so good against Protoss and Terran. The reason why is because Protoss and Terran have a lot more range units that can abuse it, where like your tanks will be out of range to cover it, and then you're gonna be like, ah, fuck, Stalkers are killing my wall, Immortals are killing my wall, Marauders are killing my wall, the other guy's siege tanks are killing my wall. Like you're probably gonna lose your wall a lot. But Zerg on the other hand is gonna be like, his banelings now are either blowing up the wall, which is gonna burn a lot of the banelings, or they're running around it towards my tanks and my army before they can run into my mineral line. Same thing with Zerglings, stuff like Zerg definitely has a lot lower range units than the other races do, so it helps a lot against Zerg, honestly, but against Terran and Protoss, yeah, not so much.
I have a question.
Sure.
Because I don't think you talked about this in my league in B2GM, at least not the one I'm watching. I might be wrong. But I saw you on stream and you said something about don't make a wall against Terran, which is fine. I accept that, but I don't remember it being in B2GM. So what is it? Just because the tanks can blow up your wall?
I would say that becomes irrelevant in Diamond Plus. And the reason why is because exactly what you just said and what we just referenced a second ago. It's siege tanks.
Because even now, even in my league, I experience a lot of times where Terran players are like blowing up my whole fucking wall. Plus,
stop doing it in TVT. There's really no reason you have to do this in TVT. Honestly, the only reason why I told people to do it is because like if we're gonna talk about it with coaching and you can ask questions like this, then it's a lot more okay to get more specific here because I can actually answer the questions for you. But when I'm making a guide, the last thing I want to do is add in a bunch of specificities in the builds that are like, okay, so don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Yeah. I try to make it as like versatile as possible, where it's like this one thing solves all your problems, and then everyone that watches it goes, wow, this is actually easy to approach and it's not confusing. So that's why I tell people to wall every time, like up to platinum essentially in B2GM. But yeah, it is definitely not needed against Terran. The only
You,
or go ahead,
you
sorry.
still put your against Terran. You still put your tanks there though, right?
Yeah, for sure. So against Terran, think about it like this: siege tanks are like a you cannot pass zone type mechanic. Like if you have 3 siege tanks and 20 marines, and your opponent has 3 siege tanks and 20 marines, and you are sieged and he is not, if he walks into your siege tanks and then sieges, you have a 100% chance to win that fight. It's not even like it's like, oh, maybe. It's guaranteed you're going to kill him. Because the thing about Terran is Terran is like all damage, no defense. Imagine if there were 2 samurais fighting each other with 2 big ass swords and no armor. It's just they're in their underwear. That's what Terran vs. Terran's like. Like either guy could die in seconds. It's literally you have no defense against other Terran because your shit is it does too much fucking damage essentially. Your one shot of a siege tank is enough to drop a clump of marines down to like 5 hit points. And that's without combat shield. And with combat shield, it drops them down to 15. And 2 siege tank shots is enough to guaranteed kill a marine. It's not even a chance. It kills the marine. And now if you have 3 siege tanks splashing out marines, they're going to die so fucking fast. And it also only takes... If 1 siege tank drives into the range of your 3 siege tanks, 3 shots of a tank in siege mode kills a tank as well. Like, they just die super fucking fast. So, with how quickly you can kill each other and the fact that you're ranged... Siege tanks are the ultimate zoning tool Terran has. Which is why, yeah, you do not need depots because the tanks do it anyways.
Can I ask a quick side question?
Yeah.
It's not really related to this match, so I don't want to keep us like off
Sure.
track or anything. But what do you do in a situation where you like are TBT and then like you have your whole army maxed out and you go to like attack and maybe you kill their bases and then you get to their main and they have like a shit ton of siege tanks on the high ground and all your troops just keep getting wiped?
So, just keep in mind that B2GM concept is all about making and then maintaining bases. And if you... It's a concept that you'll understand, that you know, you'll learn it more over time, but you'll get really comfortable with it eventually, is a lot of times StarCraft 2 is not about maximizing your current investment. It's about maximizing your income to where you can lose your current investment and then replace it with excess. So if I have an army that is worth 7,000 resources of tank, marine, medevac, and I'm attacking into my opponent's base who also has an army that is 7,000 resources worth of investment, and let's say when I fight him, I only kill 1,000 and he kills 7,000, and it's like, holy fuck, that was a bad trade, right? You're like, wow, he lost like only 20 supply and I lost 100 or something like that. And you only killed marines. You didn't even kill any of his high value units like his tanks or his medevacs or whatever. It's okay because if his income at that point is only like 1,000 minerals a minute and your income is like 6,000 minerals a minute, and you guys are taking fights once every 3 minutes, even though he took a fight that's 6,000 resources more advantageous than you, if you have an income that is like 13 or 14,000 more resources advantageous for you by the time you guys take fights, you're still winning the game.
Yeah, you're just chipping them down basically.
Yeah, you're literally chipping away at them if they're super turtly. And then yeah, that's totally fine. That's not a big deal because the whole this is a golden rule of B2GM, and this applies to every race, I would say. But there's 2 concepts. The first concept is something a lot of people understand, and it's like, how fast are you at doing everything, and how fast can you initially max out? That's the big thing I stressed a lot in B2GM, where it's like, so you should be maxing out at like 10 minutes or like 10 minutes 30 seconds, now 10 minutes, now 9:30 or whatever. But that's just initial max. The remax is also incredibly important, and that never ends. So it's about another thing I call it is build, like the upkeep of your build once you're actually there. So if you take a fight with somebody and you lose your supply and you can instantly remax within like 15 seconds of the fight happening, like you're building units during the fight, so as shit dies, it's already being replaced. And then let's say the fight lasts for 30 seconds and you get like 2 rounds of units off out of your production in that 30-second window of time. That means you let's also say your production's worth like 50 production per cycle. Well, if your army's 100 supply, and if you can start the second round of 30 like if it takes 30 seconds per like production cycle for you, for the first one, you get like 50 supply off in the first production cycle, and then by the time your army dies, you get your second 50 supply production cycle off 30 seconds later. So that means that by the time the opponent gets to your base, you're already like remaxed again with the full army already there. And then if you even lose that fight, but you shave away pieces of his army by the time he crosses them, like you know, in the first fight, by the time he crosses the map, he'll have less army than you. And now you take a fight where it's not quote unquote even anymore, but now maybe you have 100 supply of army again, and he only has like 63 or something like that, and you just take a massively overwhelming advantageous fight for yourself because you have just way more. Stuff like that is always going to net you the win in games like this. This is the concept that a lot of people struggle to understand because they don't think about maintenance once they max. They just think, well, vibe, I maxed, so that's correct, right? It's like, well, you gotta maintain that shit though. You gotta max repeatedly.
Armed and ready. SCV ready.
Okay, and then so
Field.
upgrades. Just I'm talking specifically about your tech lab on your barracks. Definitely make sure to check in every now and again. I love that you got stim pack. That's super important. But another big problem that a lot of people have is they just never check it again. So I would say again, this is a moment where you doing 4-5-4-5-4-5-4-5 is going to help a lot, because if you can go like this, okay, this is what you should be aiming for. Do it like you're at the top of your base, right? Do a pass on your entire base, and if you can do this literally, okay, starport needs to be building 3-3 3-3 16, or rather 13 out of 14. Need to do my upgrade. Produce 3-3 3-3 14 out of 14. Upgrades are rolling. Supply is good, and you know, base is going down. If you can look at specifics out of your base, that when you go through your base, like a cycle through your base like that, that is so fucking good, because you still could take a quick moment to be like, am I producing out of the starport? Am I producing out of my barracks? Am I producing out of my factory? You still could do that, but that should be something you're checking through the bottom of the screen, not through the center of the screen as much. Like, so again, you still could look at it, but it's not even something that should be your main focus. Your main focus should be things like, am I producing out of this upgrade structure? Is my maintenance of my economy still looking good? Is my supply looking good? Is my natural looking good? Is my third base looking good? And then, you know, and then remember the cycles of like when you're supposed to be expanding. Like, oh, third base is fully saturated. I need to set up another expansion now. If you can do stuff like that, that's going to help you a lot too, because that's what you should be looking for on the actual screen itself. Whereas, again, like I said before, production of units and SCVs should actually be done from the bottom of the screen of 4-5-4-5-4-5, and that should just eventually become automated for you. Makes it 1,000 times easier.
This is just like more of a comment than a question, but what I was thinking is, because if you notice, I put my engineering bays, I don't know why there's 3 there, but I put my engineering bays on control group 9, which is my upgrade control group, just so like if I'm not looking at them, I could like hit the upgrades. And I think I should put the tech labs on that same control group.
Yeah, if you want.
Maybe.
Also,
so that way I can
fine.
shift through them.
That's okay. That's not a bad idea.
Sometimes I'm not looking at that part of the screen and I forget to hit the camera hotkey, so that's a good way for me to remember to. Because I suck at doing upgrades on time recently. I've just been sucking at it.
Sure.
I think that might help me a little bit.
So the reason why it also says 3s, by the way, is because you add the armory to it, and the engineering bays take priority. So you actually.
Oh yeah.
But I would say if you want to also add in your tech labs into this, that's okay, for the purpose of like just seeing if the white dot is being upgraded. And being like, oh yeah, I need to make sure something's rolling in that thing right now. I need to make sure an upgrade is currently happening. That's totally fine. And I would say if you're comfortable hitting 9, that's a judgment call for you. I can't tell you if that's right or wrong. If you feel like you can easily hit 9 and not feel like it's awkward for you and have to like look down at the keyboard or something like that, then that's totally cool. But if you do find yourself going like, if I tell you check your upgrades and you're like, let's say your camera's over here, and then if I were to be sitting next to you, and let's say I watched you look down at your keyboard, move your finger to 9, hit it, and then look back up at the screen again, I'd be like, you need to change the hotkey. That's not a good one for you.
I need to change it.
Yeah.
I'll put it to like 1 or something.
You could honestly do that, And here's the reason why. It's not a permanent hotkey. Upgrades is early game only, and you can replace it later on. Like once you get stim pack, once you get combat shield, you don't gotta get that shit anymore. Once you get 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, you don't gotta get it anymore. It's like it's done. Once it's done, right? It's not something that needs to be consistently maintained all game. So you could replace it with like an army hotkey eventually, throughout the game as you go. That'd be totally fine.
Oh, you know, I never, and maybe this, I don't want to get off track, but do you use a hotkey for army? Because there's already one for the full army. Do you do like?
You will later on, 100%.
Okay, later. Okay.
Like once you get to like, I don't remember if I did it much in platinum, but I think I might have with scouting purposes. Like, cause the the medevac things I do where it's like one to the left, one to the right. I actually hotkey those.
Yeah.
I do hotkey those.
Yeah, that's the other problem. I'd have to put because I use 1 and 2 for my medevacs, so I'll use like 3 for engineering bay or something.
Yeah. Once you get to diamond though, you're gonna be using a lot of army hotkeys probably. You're gonna be using like probably 3 army hotkeys consistently. It's gonna happen a lot, at least 2, possibly 3. But like again, by the time you start getting to that phase of the game where you're just attacking a lot, you can that's when you can replace your engineering bay upgrade hotkey. That's totally fine. And also another thing to note is there will, like if I ask, like for instance, if someone were to ask you, hey, do you know what 10 minutes feels like? Like it's a very obscure question, but I feel like most people would answer that in the form of saying yes. They'd be like, okay, I feel like I know what 10 minutes is. And if someone were to ask you, let's just say you drank a water, and they were to say, hey, how long ago do you think you drank water? You might be able to go, I don't know, like 20 minutes ago, or 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. You probably can reference a frame of time there because you have experience doing something like that throughout your life. And the comparison I'm making to StarCraft is when you do things like this for so many times, when you're consistently going like, okay, I'm getting my upgrades, and then the next game I'm playing, I'm getting my upgrades. Next game I'm playing, I'm getting my upgrades. Everything you do in repetition will always become more subconsciously done. It just is that's just the human brain works. Repetition means automated function. It just becomes that way over time. Like if someone asks you to write with a pencil, you don't have to think, how do I hold it? How do I like actually make it glide on the paper to do it properly? It's automated because you did it so much when you were younger, probably. Same thing with reading. You can just read. You don't have to think about how to read. You can just do it. Everything becomes automated the more you do it. So the same thing will happen with your engineering bays and your tech labs and things like that. And you eventually will get out of the habit of needing it all together. Like you eventually will just basically the point I'm trying to make here is right now you're using it for the purpose of checking on it to make sure you're not missing it. But eventually you're probably, if you still want a hotkey later on, you would only be using it for the process of doing it faster when you want to do it. Like, you could hit a hotkey of going, oh, I'm hitting a key on the keyboard and then just going for a quick upgrade rather than having to go back to the base, click it, make the upgrade. Stuff like that. It would just make the function faster, but you still have an internal timer to go, oh, I kind of know when it's going to be done though. And then another thing to keep in mind is start committing things to memory in terms of numbers of the game. So like, for instance, if I asked you, how long do you think 1-1, like if those are 2 questions, you don't have to answer these, okay? I just want you to think about this, and I'll give you the answer after like 5 seconds. Is +1 weapons and +1 armor different in how long they take to research? And how long is it? How long is the upgrade timer? And if you don't know that, that's something you should start committing to memory. You should start committing a lot of things like this to memory because you should start actually being able to recognize what time means in StarCraft. Because if you don't know these things, time means nothing to you. And if time means nothing to you, imagine trying to be on time for a job that time if you don't even know how to read time. If someone's like, yeah, be here at 9 a.m. and you're like, what the fuck is 9 a.m.? You're not going to be on time, and it's going to be bad. You're going to be there at 4 p.m. and they're going to be like, okay, you're fucking fired because you're just so late. So the point I'm trying, like the point is +1 weapon or +1 armor, +1 weapons. The level of the upgrade, +1, +2, +3, it is always the same amount of time to get it. They can always pair together. So it makes it really easy to coincide them with 2 upgrades simultaneously. And then the timers of them, and a really easy way to remember is it's about 2 minutes for level 1. Again, you can get exact if you want to as well, and it's exactly 114 seconds. But it's about 2 minutes for level 1. It's about 2.5 minutes for level 2, and it's about 3 minutes for level 3. So if you can remember that, that is humongous in terms of like giving you an advantage to remember when to get the upgrade. So, and again, that's internal timer stuff right there. Because like this is something that it's almost like instinct, where at a stage of me playing StarCraft right now, I could literally get a +1 weapon upgrade or whatever, +1 upgrade of something, and I can actually never look at the engineering bay again, and without even looking at the clock as well, I can actually go, I know my +1 is going to be done soon. And then like as soon as I feel like that, I look at it and it's done in the next like 6 seconds or like 2 seconds, or it's not always exactly the same, but it's always just about done, because it's like I know enough time has passed for me to feel like this is done, because my body knows it's about 2 minutes, and then about 2 minutes later I go, oh yeah, it's about done now, because I just know that it's experience, and that's something that'll happen to you too over time, but it only starts becoming something you think about if you know how long it takes. So that's something. And then again, same thing. If I was like, how long does it take you to make a factory? If you're like, I fucking have no idea, that's something you should commit to memory. How long does it take to make a barracks? Something you should commit to memory. How long does it take to make a command center? You should start learning this shit over time. Don't have to learn it all today, but really think about this stuff and start trying to memorize it over time. Like quiz yourself sometimes, like in a replay when the game's over, just for fun. Be like, how long does it take to make a factory? And then click on an SCV and be like, I bet it's 48 seconds, and it's really 43, but you go, oh, I think it's 48, so you click it and you like go, how long is it? It's 43, not 48. And you're like, now you think about it, you like quiz, you like you give yourself the ability to like memorize these things. And again, it's just over time, and you can even make it a fun game for yourself where you're like, you just think one thing every single time when the game's over. Just quiz yourself on one thing in the game, one unit or one building, and go, okay, well, how long does it take to make a Marine? And let's say you're like, I don't know, 30 seconds? It's definitely not 30 seconds, but let's say you said that, and it's 18. And you're like, oh, okay, 18 seconds per Marine. It gives you more of an indicator as to, like, that is important information to know what your Remax cycles can look like. So if you were to be able to quickly discern how many Marines can you make in the same amount of time as how many, as a tank, for instance. Let's say you're making Marines and tanks as a composition, which is going to be very common for you later on. And you go, okay, well, I got 5 barracks and I got 1 factory. And let's just say, hypothetically, to make it really easy, every barracks is a reactor and your tech lab is a factory. So you're making 1 tank and you're making 10 Marines out of 5 racks because of the 5 reactors. If I were to ask you, what do you think a production cycle looks like there? Like when the tank finishes and the Marines finish, how many are you going to have of each thing? I bet right now a lot of people out there that are Gold League are probably like, I fucking have no idea. But if you know a Marine takes 18 seconds, and then if I were to ask you how long does it take to make a tank, and you go, I don't know, 20 seconds, I'd be like, incorrect. It's about 33 or 32. I haven't got it wrong. 32 seconds. It's 32 seconds. So again, nothing has to be exactly perfect. As long as you have a good estimate idea, you could be like, okay, that means I could get 2 rounds of Marines in the time I could get 1 round of tanks. So if I'm going to make a production cycle Remax of, if I'm losing army and I have 5 racks in 1 factory, I'm going to be able to squeeze out 20 Marines for every 1 tank, essentially, which is 23 supply, because the tank is 3 supply, a Marine is 1 supply, and you have 20 plus 1, which is 1 tank plus 20 Marines. So that's huge to know that. Like this kind of stuff, it just gives you an understanding of what numbers mean in the game. It's not something this is not shit I want you to study all night tonight and be like, you got to know it. It's just something you should start committing to memory over time, because you'll actually understand the game. And I'm not even kidding, dude. There are so many people that if I ever ask someone these questions, that they know the answers to these questions, those kinds of players are usually pro gamers or people who are just overall good at StarCraft. They're pretty fucking good at the game. But I have met plenty of people over my years of playing StarCraft that are like Masters League or whatever, and they don't know fucking numbers at all in this game. They have no idea. And you know what that tells you? The only reason why they got there in whatever league that they're in is because they copied a build order, and that's it. That's all they're doing, is they're just copying a build order. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the incorrect way to play the game. It just means that you're always going to be looking for answers elsewhere, and you're never going to be able to create answers yourself. Like, imagine if you were the kid in school that could only finish homework or finish like a test by copying someone else's answers. Or imagine if you were the kid who knew the answers yourself because you actually could show your work and like you know how to do it. You didn't just know how to cheat and copy someone else. So this is huge for self-development at learning the game. And if you commit knowledge or like commit numbers to memory and make knowledge of it for yourself, where you're like, okay, I know what numbers mean over time in this game. Like I'm starting to learn this. You'll start to really understand the game at such a higher level, and you'll be able to like think on the fly when things don't go correct. Because overall, the biggest weakness of a player who only copies is as soon as something happens in the game that doesn't go their way, they fall apart. Whereas if you're someone who actually knows what shit means, something could happen in the game that doesn't go your way, and you can improvise and make shit work again. So it's a huge... what I'm trying to give you here is a big tip for improvement at learning the game better, and a faster, more solid way for yourself. Copying is still fine. It's a good reference. But you definitely want to commit numbers to memory because it will only help you in the long run.
Mineral field depleted.
All right, and now let's really dive here for a second into your mid-game.
Upgrade.
Okay, so both your medevacs should be dropping the outer bases, as is happening right now. Correct.
Our SCVs are
And then no micro at all. You just stim it and fucking leave it alone. I love it. Oh, God. Okay, another thing to do. I'm going to tell you this right now. I regret doing this in B2GM. Stop making Hellions. Don't make it, don't make the unit anymore. That unit,
Ever?
yeah, do not make it. You can make it if you're going to use the Hellion properly. But I regret showing people Hellions because it's just not really going to serve the purpose that you want it to. And it's going to waste a lot of your money when you could have done units that are just better overall. Yeah, it's... I would rather you just go like pure bio. Yeah, it's not worth making Hellions. Just I would highly recommend just if you're not going to do it like a Hellion based opener, like shit I'll show you in Diamond League probably in that series. Like basically if you're not going to do a build that essentially goes, I go for a quick Reaper into like a reactor and then I swap it onto a factory and I just do Hellion harass. If you're not doing something like that, just do not make Hellions.
So this is probably a dumb question, but you mean don't make Hellions nor Hellbats
Yes.
throughout the game?
Yeah,
Okay.
just don't use that unit, period.
There's never a situation where you might want to use it, or
The only situation that you'd want to that Hellions could essentially be useful would be if you're getting attacked really early, like all in essentially. But you might as well just keep making tanks at that point if that's going to happen.
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I do remember you talking one time about how if you can't get your tech lab down quick enough before you get rushed, you can make a couple Hellions to help defend, maybe, right, or something like that, or no?
Yeah, but that'd be like a one base all in, like something really, 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 really fast.
Like they do it, yeah, they just do it hella quick. Like you haven't even put your tech lab down type shit.
But even then, I would say you'd probably even be better off, like really thinking about it, you'd be better off actually just making a bunker and then making tanks to support the bunker. Honestly, like Hellions are they're. I had a reasoning for making them in the first place, and I was like, the reason why, I'll tell you why I made them in the build. The reason why I wanted people to use them is because I literally thought there'd be a lot of people out there that would not even control their army ever when they got in combat, and they wouldn't even stim pack. And I was like, well, this is going to suck ass, because bio actually is terrible if you don't stim pack, and you just A-move it, and then it all dies. So I was like, if I tell them to make Hellbats, at least now that's a unit that is very noob friendly where they don't have to siege it or anything like that. It's just literally there, and it'll help clear out like potentially like mass zealots or something that tries to run into your bio. But in reality, all it does is it slows down your bio production because you waste so much money making Hellbats, and you could have just had more bio faster. Like it, and then the Hellbats also, if you stim pack, the Hellbats are going to do nothing. It's just going to weaken your bio count you could have had. It's just not worth going to Hellbats.
And then initially, until I find out that they're going air, I just go straight Marine medevac, right?
Yeah.
No Marauders until I see air.
So Marauder, Marauder's something you'll be adding on late game, like
I'm sorry,
regardless.
no Marauders until I see ground. I don't know why I said air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No Marauders until I see ground. I mean.
Yeah. Like you'll usually be just adding in Marauders later on once you're at like the double-digit barracks count. But for the early part of the game, you'll be going Marine focused because of the potential of air, and also it makes the drops better. Because if you're dropping 8 Marines or you're dropping 4 Marauders kills a mineral line way fucking slower than 8 Marines do.
Well, yeah, I don't usually drop Marauders, but like I said, I mean, like just now how I scouted the enemy, and he had like stalkers, I think, or something. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong. I think he had like stalkers and ground units.
He did, yeah.
So I said, okay. At that point, that's when I'm like, all right, I'll start building. I don't know if I did it now or not.
You do.
See, there we go.
Yeah.
I started building Marauders at that point.
I'm okay with you making this reaction, but I want you to know something, which is you could literally make Marines with your tanks and still be fine.
Okay,
Even though it sounds weird, okay? But even though he's going Stalker Colossus, which notoriously is really good against Marines, like Colossus just destroy Marines, you actually will be fine in Platinum and below. Like, if this was Diamond, I would be saying something else. If this is Diamond, I would be like, yeah, you definitely need fucking Marauders, like 100%. But
is it bad to make the Marauders, though?
No, it's not bad. That's why I was saying if you want to do it now, it's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of a habit now.
That's okay. It's something you'll use in the future. It's just the only reason why I wouldn't tell you to make Marauders from the bat, like right off the bat, is because if this guy was actually like a Void Ray Master and you're over there making Marauders, you're just going to die. And most of the time in Gold League, a lot of times people don't realize these things until it's too late. They're like, oh, fuck, I didn't realize until 9 minutes what he was doing.
It wasn't Void Rays necessarily, but I think that's what's going to happen in this game. I don't remember if it was this one or another replay that I had, but I think he ends up going air after I scouted him.
Yeah. It happens, right? And if they do go air, another way you could add on something too is you could start adding on like Thors. Honestly, like that would be something you could do, where instead of going Hellbats, just like make your tanks and then stop, just let it be, and then if the guy goes air, you could start adding on Thor to your production. And a cool thing you can do too is if you're getting weapon upgrades as well, your Thors will also have more damage to just like pump into the fucking air too. So like they'll actually be useful. And then eventually after you get upgrades all the way to level 3, then you would start getting armor, and you could make your Thors even stronger too. Like to just help support your Marines.
So I probably am not going to do any armory upgrades until I start making Thors, right?
No, you could do weapon upgrades right off the bat because it makes your tank stronger.
Oh, the tanks. That's right. Okay,
yeah.
I was like thinking, what other unit do I use? But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because that will help protect you. Like it helps protect you against base trades and all ends.
Is it okay that I make the armory after 1-1 upgrades are partway through?
Yes, you should be. To do it perfectly. This is where time. This is okay. You asked a very good question, and I'm gonna explain it to you in a way that's gonna like hopefully make you identify how to improvise in the game. So if you were to, there's 2 things you got to understand about an armory. Number 1 is the build time of the building, and number 2 is what is the purpose of the armory. The purpose of the armory is so that if you have it, you can actually continue to unlock level 2 and level 3 upgrades on the engineering base. Because if you don't have it, you're stuck at level 1 forever. So, to know when you should be making the armory, if you want to really take that into account, if you look at the upgrade time of a, it's 114 seconds, okay? We remember it. It's 114. So if we look at an armory, if you want to make a perfect armory, it's a 46-second build time structure. So what that means is you take 46 off of 114, and if you want to just kind of, again, average it off, you don't have to be exact here. You don't have to be the exact number every single time. You can ballpark it just to make it really easy. You could be like, okay, well, it's 114 minus 46. How about we just do 110 minus 40 because it's way easier math to do. And then you could be like, okay, so if my engineering bay upgrades are right around 70 seconds, if I start my armory right around then, it's going to be just about perfect. So 70 seconds out of 114 is a little bit more than half. But let's say you started your upgrades at like 60 or like 58. It's still going to line up pretty decent, which is about half of 100. Like half of 114 is 57, right? So it is, as long as you make it right around there as well, that That would be great, because you're only going to have the engineering bays, or sorry, your armory is only going to be done for like, let's say 8 seconds or 10 seconds, and then suddenly 1-1's done, and you immediately start 2-2. And then as long as you didn't have it like a hiccup in your production by making the armory when you made it, because you're not like making it so fucking early that you're like waiting to use your barracks now or your command centers now, and you're tying your resources up. Like for instance, if you're supply blocked and your first inclination is to go, I'm going to make an armory, and you're like, well, now I'm super supply blocked because I'm not even building depots. Stuff like that is what I mean. Like, you do, as long as it's not disrupting your build, which it shouldn't if you make it around halfway through the upgrade, then it's totally fine. And it makes sense if you make it around then, because it perfectly lines up your 2-2. Make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I was starting at. I think I just was starting it too early.
Yeah, and I'll, like stuff like this too. Be very careful about stuff like that. Like, definitely don't queue up 2 upgrades like this, because this thing is again 114 seconds. So you just queued up like almost 4 minutes of upgrades here, and you queued up resources in this one that's not even going to be used for 2 minutes to even start. So that's something that'll disrupt your build a bit. This is something that I would say would be, if you were already at 200 supply and you did shit like this, I'd be like, yeah, that's okay. But if you're not at 200 supply yet, this is shit that will hurt you pretty hard, because you don't have bank bank is something that becomes a thing once you max. But before you max, bank is not a thing. What you could say bank is before you max out is poor macro, because you should be able to spend it otherwise. And if you're not able to spend your money on things that can actually be utilized, and instead you're doing it on things that are not utilized for a while, it's like artificial macro that's not good, if that makes sense. Like, because this could be done for now, this could be things that are more impactful, like for instance your 2-2 upgrades could be starting and you're having a queued up upgrade here that's not doing shit, right? So that's super huge. Definitely don't do stuff like that before you max out.
Our SCVs under attack.
Also, one thing you're not doing that you should definitely be doing more is pairing your barracks with your command centers. So you have a 3rd base, right? You have a 4th base. Now you have a 5th base, and you never added on more racks after 2 racks. And if memory serves me right, I'm pretty sure every time what I did in B2GM was I was like, okay, guys, every time you make an extra command center, we're going to pair it with 2 more racks. Another command center, 2 more racks. Another command center, 2 more racks. CC first, followed by 2 more racks every time.
So I think what I recall you saying, I'm totally down to do that. I think what I recall you saying in that series was, your reference point that you used was, once your resources start getting too high for you to spend, like you're getting them quicker than you could spend them. Sure. That was the reference that you used a lot for, like, timing.
That is true. 100% that is not wrong. But keep in mind too that when I made those statements, I wasn't accounting for things like this. A fully queued up factory, a fully queued up barracks, a fully queued up starport probably. Oh no, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's the only one that I'm struggling on, and I have like shit ton of Marines, and I only have 1 medevac coming out.
I want to tell you something right now. This is bad for 2 reasons. Okay, the first reason is the obvious one, which is you just have a bunch of money tied up in here that you can't use. It's the same thing as this right here, your armory upgrade. Okay, but the second thing that's even worse is this is bad habit development. And this means if you fully queue it out and you're like, all right, well, now I don't got to check the barracks again for like at least a minute. That's not good, because you don't develop muscle memory then. You're not doing 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, 4-5. You're just going 4-A. Forget about it for a while. So you develop no muscle memory anymore. So imagine if you were like trying to teach someone how to play basketball, and then you're like, okay, don't worry about dribbling the ball. And you're like, what? How do you play the game then? Like, you just fucking hold it? Or you run? Is it traveling every time you do anything? For anyone who knows basketball, like, it's just 4 or 5 macro cycles is actually the crux, like the foundation of learning how to play StarCraft. So this shit is counterproductive to that hardcore. So definitely try to get out of the habit of doing this kind of stuff. Try to get more in the habit of checking. So here's what your eyeball should be doing. Instead of going like 4 or 5, spam it out, you should be going 4, 5 repeatedly. And obviously you're not going to have it all in one production cycle like I have on the bottom of the screen right now. But what you should have is, like, when you go 4, you're looking at your production of your units, of your military units, and you're like, okay, how are the white boxes doing? Do I have a couple in my buildings? And like, for instance, here's another tip, okay? When the building says R, it stands for reactor. It's, you know, I think this is obvious, but like some people might not realize that. Oh shit, I didn't notice I was there. But reactors are always before tech labs, and R is reactor, T is tech lab. So it's always going to be in the order of reactors first, tech lab second. And you should always have double queued up dots in a reactor and single queued up dots in a tech lab. And if you're someone who's learning macro, like a gold player, I'm okay if you double that and you go about 3 to 4 dots for a reactor and like 2 dots for a tech lab. That's totally fine if you're, again, getting comfortable with macro cycles. But if this is something that you check every few seconds, even if the unit finishes and then you start another unit 2 seconds later, you still have amazing uptime out of your buildings. If you're not queuing them up like crazy, like 2 at a time, like how you do with like SCVs.
Yeah, so you're saying it's better to like miss the production for like a second or two than to have like a full queue.
Yes.
Okay, because that's why I do that full queue. Is it's bad habit, I understand. That's the thing, is I had it reversed in my head. I'm like nervous. I'm all, like, you know what I mean?
The only thing that is unacceptable to miss any seconds on is your SCVs. But even then, I would say do not fully queue that thing up. You should be macro cycling it at least more than once. Every cycle the SCVs are being made. And then the rule for command centers is always have 2 white dots per command center. So you always have a backup queued up second SCV behind the first one. Always have a second one. But with barracks and factories, like if you're always queuing up a second tank or like a second Thor behind the first Thor, that's fucking expensive. That's way more expensive than an SCV. So that's why you want to maybe not do that as much with your production of your military. Same thing with like medevacs. That's so fucking expensive to queue those up. Again, way more than SCVs. So SCVs though definitely has its own rule. Always have 2 boxes per command center of production, and then your other production cycles try to just maintain a single. And if you really have to, maybe a second production cycle on like your racks, if possible. And then if you can maintain that well, that's you're gonna feel like your money goes so much further. Because then you'll actually have more money available, and when you have more money available, you can then actually make more production and maximize that more production as well, rather than fully queuing out. Because the way you go when you full queue like this, you will never make quotas of like, wow, I should be maxing at 9:45 or 10 minutes, and I max out at 11 because I just full queue and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting.
Our SCVs are under attack.
But it is a balance, though, okay? I got to say this, too, just so you don't misinterpret. It is a balance. The worst thing you can do... Like, so this is, like, the second worst thing you can do when you full queue like this. But the worst thing you can do is making too much production too fast and then not making units at all. Because then you just don't build anything. You're just building buildings for buildings, and you're not actually making units. And then you're really falling behind because you're doing some sloppy-ass, inefficient usage of your money. It's like you're buying way more than you can handle. It'd be like trying to buy a mansion that costs $1 million on McDonald's salary, for that pays you like, let's say like 20K a year or something. Like, it just doesn't make sense on your income.
Hellbat coming through. SCV ready. Ready. Go, go, go. Kaboom, baby. Hellbat coming through.
Mineral field depleted.
All right.
Research complete.
Hellbat coming.
And then your move out should be the middle left base first, because you're already setting up there, and you're not ready to move it yet though, because you're not maxed. But yeah, your expansion timings are nice. You're expanding relatively fast. It's good.
Research.
Hellbat coming through.
Your initial max though is pretty late. You maxed out at about like 11:35. That's a little bit. I would say, not awful. Not like, oh my god, that's so bad, but definitely can do that faster. And the funny thing is you maxed out way faster than the Protoss you're playing too, right? You just destroyed the Protoss's max out. Protoss is only at 150 right now, which is really good for you. But I would 100% say you can max out faster than this, and that's something that will happen for you if your build just is, again, more efficient with things like no supply blocks, You're not queuing up so crazy with all your production, and you're actually adding more production when it makes sense. To try to maintain one production cycle per military building like consistently, you're getting really in the habit of 4-5ing a lot, and then you're also doing things like maintaining good economy value in your bases, like the upkeep of worker management, rotating them around and not having inefficient workers as much. Things like this, fixing things like this is definitely going to help you a shitload at speeding up your max. And I would say for you, if you want me to give you a coaching version that's something specific to you of things we just talked about, if you can max out at 1030 or faster, I think you're doing a great job for Gold League. Like 1030 would be a fucking super powerful max for you. You would crush with that kind of a max.
Upgrade complete.
Yeah, that's what you said in the B2GM, and I try to aim for 1030
Okay.
if possible.
Nice.
If I'm not slow that match.
Nice.
You know. In an ideal game, I usually max out at like 1030-ish.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Nice. I like your production as well. I like the fact that you're exploding it. It's supposed to happen at some point. You also exploded it up to a really healthy amount, I would say. Like right now you have 4, and you just added on another 13. So now you have about 17 production buildings, and you're about to have 18 because you have a starport coming down, which hasn't started yet. So it's a very healthy amount. That's honestly nice. It's respectable. I would say if you made like maybe like 2 more barracks, like to go to like that 20 to 24 cycle, that'd be like perfect. But yeah, you have the right idea. I would say you could have done it a little bit faster though. But overall, again, that's something that happens with Gold League, right? Everything's gonna feel like it's a little overwhelming, and speed will only happen with comfort and like more experience for you. So that's something that will obviously be added into your build more over time. But you have the right idea still. And then as you push, yeah, okay, you fixed it. I was about to say, so the wall here, all you gotta do is just aim move the front of it instead of behind it, and your bio will stop being stupid.
Oh yeah, I didn't know what was going on there. I was so confused.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why they were
It's
doing that.
stupid AI. It's like brood war mentality for your units right there, where you're like, hey, go there, and your unit's like, go there?
Like 4 times.
Oh, go over
Like,
there.
damn.
Yeah, it's because since he walled it off entirely, a unit goes, if it's not currently in range to attack the gateway yet, it's gonna say, well, that's a wall, so I'm gonna run that way. It's just gonna be like, that's not a wall, that's open. It's just stupid AI. So you have to A move the front of the wall, and the second one of these gateways dies, then they'll be like, I can run through there, and now I can A move this properly. Yeah, so like that right there, not a great fight for you, for sure, right? You just got destroyed. But that's a moment where if you have better income than your opponent does, and you have more workers, you have more bases, if things like that are going on for you, if you're able to remax, essentially, you could remax that army super fast, and then it would be totally fine, and you could do it again. And your remax is definitely going to be hindered a lot because you made this production cycle really, really late. Like, for instance, you had 3,000 minerals in the bank while you were making this, so definitely want to make, like, let's go back to your max up really fast. Just talk about this really quickly. It was like 11:30 or some shit.
Oh, so in the meantime, you said something about 2 racks per command center. So when do I start that with the after with the third or what?
I would say yeah. If you start adding on 2 more barracks, all right, do it with the 4th command center, honestly. So like on your 3cc, you could be on like 2 racks, a factory, and a starport. And then if you get, like, this is something you'll see me talk about more once you get to like Diamond League, I guess. But if you start adding on more racks, 2 more racks per command center. So the cycle is you literally go fully saturated, time to make a command center. Then after I have a little bit more money, make 2 more racks. Do it repeatedly. And then once you have your 4th CC, you add on like 2 more racks per CC. So you'll be on like 2 racks with 3 CC, 4 racks with 4 CC, 6 racks with 5 CC, 8 racks with 6 CC. Just 2 more racks with every CC you make until you get to a point where you have like, you know, a good amount of command centers or whatever. And then if your money is growing because you're actually cranking out resources like crazy, and then like you're getting closer to maxing, then you explode ASAP. So like right now, I would even say like right here, honestly, let's go back to like 11 minutes exactly before you even max out. This is where improvisation comes into play. Like, look at your money. It's so high right now. Look at your available production. You cannot spend your money at a pace that is faster than what you generate at all. So definitely would have wanted to have added in production even faster to keep up with that. Because, like, basically, the moment to know, this is the perfect moment to know this. If you want to know, when do I realize my money's going up faster than I can spend it? Your money is going up faster than you can spend it when you have 4 digits of minerals, so 1,000 plus, and you're still maintaining production out of your buildings. And that does not mean fully queuing them. It just means maintaining production. 1 per cycle. Like, it's utilizing it at 100% capacity. Because if you have 8 Marines in here, or if you have like 8 fully queued up Marines, or you have 2 Marines, it's still full capacity either way. Because it's still utilizing the building for what production is. So if you're fully utilizing production and you're at 4 digits of mineral, you definitely want to add some more buildings because you're not spending faster than you're spending, or you're generating way faster than you're spending essentially. So that's when you want to add more. And now that you're like really close to maxing out, I would, if I were you watching, or if I was next to you watching you play this game, I'd be like, add more now. Like, I know you're not maxed, but you have way too much money. You need to like prepare for the remax as fast as you can. And you wait for quite a while to do it. You don't add on the production until... And like, remember, 11 minutes you had 3,000 resources in the bank. And you added it on at like 12:10 or so. So, super late. And now you're going to take a fight. So all that's happening now is you give yourself you give yourself a chance to die because you open up an opportunity for your opponent to just kill you. And then, yeah, like right here, right? Like all your production's dead. And then now there is no way you can rebuild. Like, the fact that you are trying to rebuild it is, I 100% commend you on that. That's correct. But it's just a little too late is all it is. Right idea, just not fast enough. And now this just means you're going to die. Because it's now what you call like a snowball effect, and you'll never be able to stop it from here. Unless he turns around and waits. Okay, there he just relocates. Yeah, so just a little bit more assertiveness and efficiency. Also, you had the cool idea there. That's again something that I already kind of recommended you to do it, and you did it in this game anyways. If you go Thors, like not even off of like it's not mech, but if you just add Thors in behind your bio. And you also have weapon upgrades, and you turn your Thors in high impact payload. Thors actually get their anti-air shot against Colossus, and it makes them have longer range than Colossus do. And they beat the shit out of Colossus so badly.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in one of the videos. That yeah, that's I remember that. That stuck to me. That was like Colossus can be hit. I was like, that tripped me out the first time I heard that. I was not gonna lie. It's
crazy. Like your Thor just killed one Colossus, almost even killed the second Colossus there, and it was like a Thor by itself. And if you have like 4 Thors behind your army and you have like a bunch of bio, sure, he might kill some of your bio with his Colossus pretty fast, but his Colossus are also going to die really fast to your Thors. And then you can remake that bio that died super fast. It actually takes Protoss a while to remake those Colossus. So that's where like the remax could potentially win you the game. If like you wipe out all of his Thors and a good chunk of his army, and then you just remax immediately and push him again. Now he doesn't have any Colossus really, or like maybe 1, and suddenly you just run him over. So the remax is fucking huge. And the remax is, again, I think this is one of your biggest weaknesses. And it's almost everyone's weakness that's platinum or below, honestly. The remax is always something everybody struggles with so much, which is something I kind of talked about early on in the coaching lesson already. But it's, just to reference it one more time, if you want to be playing as good as you can be, you should be able to max out and then stay maxed out forever, essentially, even if fights are happening. And the amount of time that is acceptable for this is whenever you get into a fight and army starts dying, you should be able to be remaxed within about 15 seconds of the fight commencing. So like, if your supply drops down from 200 to any number that exists, if 180, 190, 192, 160, 144, whatever supply number is potentially going to be the number that's going to happen for you because your army's going to die and that's what it's going to become. As soon as it starts counting down from 200, you should be able to hit 200 again within 15 seconds of when it starts counting down. And the reason why is because if you start producing units as units start dying, you maximize production cycles like crazy. So you will actually get multiple production cycles out of your buildings before your one army fully dies. And that's how you remax immediately. And if your first army doesn't win the fight, but it shaves your opponent's army apart a little bit, your instant remax will probably kill them. And then if you do that twice, and then you shave them off even more, twice, your third remax will probably kill them. And if you, it repeats itself over and over and over and over. It doesn't matter how many times your army dies, you should always be able to remax. And the way you can accomplish that is never fucking up your SCVs, always maintaining good mining at new bases, always managing your base essentially, and then A-moving him, and always managing your production as soon as things start to die. Like, and the keyword there is start to die. Not after it's all dead and then you start using production like 40 seconds later. How you feeling?
Good.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I took a bunch of notes, so that
Hell yeah.
was, it was really helpful.
Also, again, this is going to be a VOD that I'll edit later tonight, and I'll upload it to YouTube, and I'll send you the link to it tomorrow as well in Discord, so you'll have access to it as well, over and over and over. If you actually miss something and you're like, okay, that was confusing, or I actually missed what he said there because he was fucking coughing or sneezing or whatever, you can always listen to it again and again and again. So that'll be a tool you can use too.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You went like hella long on this one, which I appreciate.
Yeah, we got in the zone, dude. It's all good.
You got into detail, which is good.
Yeah. But thanks for doing it. I appreciate it. And do good luck in the rest of your games going forward from here. And if you do it again next month, I look forward to talking to you again then. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
man.
pretty sure I'll probably do it on a monthly basis for a while at least. So I'll probably see you next month.
All right, dude. Well, good luck. Do the homework thing I said to you. Like, start studying a little bit of like the game, like of Terran specifically. Try to like start committing some of these things to memory. Really practice your 4 or 5, and start trying to like make things more automated and like more subconscious for you, and other things. And then like put a little bit of effort into like maybe trying to analyze what a scout means, like we talked about at the start of this lesson. And yeah. Really also the final point is really try to maximize that 15-second remax rule that if you can, you'll have so much good results from it.
Oh, you know what? One last real quick question.
Sure.
So, because one thing that stuck to me this lesson that you said was about like it's not about what your opponent built, but when they built it. And I didn't realize that until now when you said it. And every time I would see like double gas, even if they had a natural, but they had double gas, I would think, okay, well they could be going aggressive. They're probably not going to all end me, but they could be going kind of aggressive or whatever. Who knows? But one thing I guess I was asking is like if they put the gas down before they put the natural down, does that mean that they still might be all inning you?
Yes.
Or like,
So the chances of them all inning you are very low if they expand. But if someone puts gas like double gas and then they expand, you got to realize that your command center is probably going to be like 80% of the way done. Okay, like really close to being done, and their nexus is like just going to be starting. It's not.
and that means that they still might be all inning me.
And yeah, like while they're still on one
proxying me or
base,
something.
exactly. While they're still only on one base and you haven't yet seen the nexus, that is a potential all in. But then if you actually confirm a nexus, then the all in aspect of it kind of goes away. But they still could definitely harass you.
Right.
And the reason why the all in aspect kind of goes away is because you cannot make like 5 gateways or like 4 gateways, and also expand. You cannot afford that. That'd be like saying, you go. It's all good.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The other thing I was thinking was if what is the thing called that they make Dark Templar out of?
Dark Shrine?
Yeah, is that what it's called, Dark Shrine?
Yeah.
If you see a Dark Shrine when you scout with the initial SCV,
You'll never see it that
Should you-
fast. Because you're
Well,
talking about barrack
it
scouting,
happened-
right?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
You're barrack scouting, correct? Like you make the barracks and then scout.
You know, it happened to me the other day. I literally just a day or two ago, I scouted with my initial SCV. I might be wrong,
So,
but
well,
I'm pretty sure it happened.
this is-
and
Let me tell you something really. I'll let you finish, but I'm gonna interrupt you one time really fast just for this one thing. So, there are timers in the game where this is impossible unless your SCV stayed in his base for a very long time, or unless your scout was for some reason very delayed, because you have to do the tech path in order of pylon, gateway, core, council, dark shrine. And if you add up all of these buildings together, it's somewhere in the realm of like 4.5 minutes. And your scout, if you make the barracks off of depot racks and then scout across the map, your SCV should always be in the Protoss's base by like 1 minute and like 30 seconds. So you're like 3 minutes before the dark shrine would be done. If you scout right away.
Mistake on what? Okay, so I was wrong. It wasn't a dark shrine. It was the Twilight Council.
That's a lot.
And
Okay.
So what is the Twilight Council? It goes for the Dark Templar or whatever.
So a Twilight Council has two purposes. It can either tech to top tier Templar tech, which could be High Templar or Dark Templar. It's like the tech path requirement for that. Or you could just straight up use the Council, and you could make Charge, Blink, or Resonating Glaive the depths instead. So it can do a gateway thing. It basically upgrades the gateway, essentially, because all these things come out of the gateway. And you can either upgrade units that are early tech gateway or late tech gateway, like the Templar tech.
Well, because I had the issue with that match where I saw the Twilight Council. I thought, okay, he could be going Dark Templar, maybe not. Who knows? Because I don't know too much about it.
Sure.
And then I got a bunch of Dark Templar that were cloaked that were fucking up my base.
Yeah.
And I didn't have scan ability because I already used all my mules.
I would say
So-
a good response to this would be if you scout someone that is going double gas really early Twilight Council, when you set up your first tank, just make a turret next to it. See how that right there on the
Okay.
screen right there? Your tank is next to this SCV. Make a turret like right there.
Yeah, so just make an early
Yeah.
engineering bay.
And then-
okay.
And then you could make an engineering bay like after your second racks, or like at the same time as your second racks, and that'd be totally fine. And then you could also make a second turret, so you could make like one turret like right here, or like right here, or whatever, like so it can cover the wall, and also like right here would be perfect, so it can cover the wall and the mineral line for detection. And then you can make a second turret like right there, just in case he also adds in a warp prism that you might not know and realize exists, because there are ways to realize the warp prism exists, but again, we're getting really deep into scouting now, and this is stuff that is kind of going to be a little intense for gold.
It's all good.
And if you
Yeah.
just make 2 turrets, you'd be fine.
Okay. Yeah, so now I know. Okay, early Twilight Council, 2 gas, throw a turret down, or 1 or 2, and you're good. All right. Yeah, no, my bad for taking up so much of your time, dude. I appreciate it, though.
It's all good. Yeah, thanks for doing it, and I appreciate the Patreon support, dude. Much love. And yeah, I'll message you on Discord by tomorrow with this with the VOD of everything we just did, so you can watch it again, dude.
I'll send another sub over through stream for your going over, so you went.
You know, honestly, you don't have to.
Usually
If you want
Well,
to.
I'm going to.
Okay,
I'm
I
going
appreciate
to,
it.
but
I
I'm
appreciate it,
just
man.
letting you know.
Thank you.
Well, consider it like a tip, you know.
Sure, thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right, well, have a good
All right.
rest of your day, bro.
All right, you too. Thank you.
All right, later, man. All right, guys. That has been a coaching lesson with Airnix, and he's a fucking nice guy. And Airnix, good shit. Good luck to you in your games in the future, going forward for the rest of the month. Hopefully, this helps a lot. And anyone else out there who watched, sorry I turned my camera off. My allergies are fucking terrible right now. I can barely see, dude. It's really bad. My nose is running constantly. It's so fucking bad. But guys, thanks for watching. I hope it was good for you nonetheless. And I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Much love. And see you next time.